I never told my brother I was the one who crashed Dad's truck that night because he took the blame without hesitation and said family comes first, and I let him carry that weight for years while I sat quietly at every Thanksgiving pretending I didn't see what it did to him. It happened in Ohio the summer before my junior year. We lived in a small town near Dayton, the kind of place where everyone knows what car you drive and who your family is. My parents were strict but not mean. Dad worked maintenance at the high school. Mom worked at the post office. We weren't rich, but we had what we needed. The truck, Dad's 1998 F-150, was his pride. He kept it spotless. He even made us take off our shoes if we sat in it. That weekend, my parents left for Cincinnati. Some church marriage thing. They were gone from Friday to Sunday. I was 16. My brother Jake was 19 and back from community college for the summer. He was always kind of the golden kid. Never got in trouble, helped with chores, polite. My dad trusted him completely. When they left, Dad tossed Jake the keys and said, "You're in charge. Don't mess this up." Saturday night, Jake was out back with his old friends drinking beer around a fire pit. I was bored and a little jealous. I was too young to hang with them, so I stayed inside playing video games and texting some girl from school. Around 10:30, I got up to grab a soda from the garage fridge. That's when I saw the truck, just sitting there. The keys were hanging on the hook like always. I don't know what I was thinking. I really don't. Maybe I just wanted to see what it felt like to drive it just once for a minute. I told myself I'd be careful. No more than a block. I had my learner's permit. I'd watched Jake drive 100 times. How hard could it be? I grabbed the keys and backed it out. The driveway was tight, but I managed it. Once I hit the road, I felt this rush like I wasn't some dumb kid anymore. Like I was finally in control. I kept it slow, just circling the block. But when I turned onto Winstead, I took it too fast. It's a sharp curve with bad lighting. There was another car coming toward me. I panicked, jerked the wheel, and went up over the curb. Hit a mailbox, then slid sideways and smacked a chain link fence. The truck stopped. The engine was still running. Steam was coming out of the front. My hands were shaking. My left cheek was burning. I realized later the airbag had scratched me. I don't remember if I screamed. I think I just froze. I left the truck there and ran home. I don't even remember the run, just my feet hitting the pavement and the sound of my breathing. Jake was still outside with his buddies. I pulled him aside, away from the fire, and told him everything in a rush. He stared at me for maybe 2 seconds. Then he said, "Okay, go inside. Let me handle it. That's it. No yelling. No asking why. No lecture." He told his friends to leave. Walked inside. Called the cops and said he had an accident. Said he was out picking up snacks and lost control. I watched him lie without flinching. They gave him a citation. Dad's insurance went through the roof. Jake got grounded even though he was 19 and Dad made him work at the lumber yard to help cover the cost. He lost his fall semester classes because he couldn't afford tuition anymore. That whole year of school gone. I kept waiting for the right moment to tell the truth. But every time I thought about it, I backed out. Mom cried a lot during that time. Dad walked around like something had broken in him. Jake just kept going, quiet and steady. Never blamed me. Never even brought it up again. One night, I found him sitting on the porch. I tried to say something. "I think I got out, Jake." And he cut me off. "Don't," he said. "Family comes first." That's it. I let it drop. I didn't bring it up again. And now it's been almost 12 years. Jake got married. He's got a kid now. A little girl named Olivia. I see pictures of them on Facebook. He doesn't post much. We only talk during holidays. Dad's sick now. Something with his liver. Jake visits more than I do. Last Christmas, we were in the garage again. Older, colder, quieter. He handed me a beer and said, "I don't regret it. You were just a kid." I looked at him, tried to say something, but I couldn't. I just nodded. Because the truth is, I don't think he ever fully recovered from it. He should have gone off and lived his life. Finished school. Built something for himself. But he took my mistake and wore it like armor. He protected me and paid for it with everything. And I never even said thank you. It was late April when Dad had his second collapse. Liver failure, they said. Years of drinking in secret, probably. Mom didn't want to hear that part. Jake drove up the same day, took time off work. I didn't go right away. I had deadlines, I told myself. Work was hectic. Truth was, I didn't want to be in that house again. Not with all of us there. Not with the weight of what I hadn't said. Jake and I hadn't shared a room in years, but that weekend, Mom asked if we'd both stay at the house so she wouldn't be alone. So we ended up in our old room. Same twin beds. Same posters on the walls. Felt like we were kids again, except now we were two grown men, both quieter, both carrying things we didn't talk about. That first night, we lay there in the dark. I couldn't sleep. Jake whispered, "You remember the truck?" I didn't answer right away. I thought maybe he was just thinking out loud. But then he said, "I saw the fence after. The mailbox. The way the seat was moved up all the way. You couldn't even reach the pedals unless it was that close." I sat up in bed. My mouth went dry. I thought about lying, saying, "What are you talking about?" But I couldn't. He kept talking. Calm. Soft. I knew. I've known the whole time. I turned toward him. "Then why?" "Because Dad would have lost it if he knew it was you. You know that. He would have taken it out on you, not just the truck. And Mom? She would have blamed herself for letting you stay home alone." I was already halfway out the door. I could take it. I stared at him. He didn't look angry, just tired, like he'd carried something for too long and it had finally worn through. "I figured you'd tell the truth one day," he said. "Or maybe I hoped you would." I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. My throat felt like it was closing. Jake turned over and said, "But I'm not mad. I just needed to say it out loud." For once. Neither of us said anything after that. I don't think I slept at all. The next morning he acted normal. Made coffee. Checked on Dad. Played with Olivia in the living room. Like nothing had happened. Like the words he said weren't still hanging in the air between us. But I felt it. The shift. The quiet resentment. Not angry, just tired. Hollowed out. Later that day, Mom asked if I could run to the pharmacy to pick up Dad's meds. She handed me the keys to her car. But when I walked to the garage, the truck was there. The same old F-150. Dent still faintly visible near the passenger side fender. It looked smaller now. Rust along the edge. Tires a little soft. I opened the door. The driver's seat still had that smell, pine and old sweat. I sat in it like I did that night. The seat didn't feel like power anymore. Felt like guilt. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to fix any of it. That evening, Mom made meatloaf. Dad was too sick to eat, barely awake in the recliner. Jake and I sat at the table with our plates, Olivia in a booster seat playing with peas. Nobody talked much. Just the sound of forks scraping plates and the TV humming low from the living room. Then Mom said, without looking up, "I always thought it was strange, how your father forgave Jake so fast after the crash. Jake kept eating." I froze. "He was so angry that first night," she went on. "But by the next morning, it was like he'd made peace with it. Said, 'That boy made a mistake. He'll pay his dues, but I won't break him for it.' Just like that." Jake looked up slowly. "What are you saying?" She shrugged. "I don't know. Maybe I'm saying your dad knew something too. Maybe we all did. And we all just decided not to say it out loud." The room went silent. Even Olivia stopped tapping her spoon. Jake stared at her. "Why didn't anyone say anything back then?" Mom looked at him, really looked, like she was seeing all the years he gave up. "Because it was easier to let you carry it." She got up, started clearing plates like she hadn't just said something that cracked the whole thing wide open. Later, after we put Olivia to bed, Jake and I stood in the backyard. The same spot where he'd stood with his friends the night I crashed the truck. He said, "So they all knew. Even Dad." I nodded. I still couldn't say much. The shame just sat in my chest like a stone. "I thought I was doing the right thing," Jake said. "But now it just feels like I was the only one who didn't get to move on." I wanted to tell him the truth then. Everything. Apologize. Cry. Yell. Whatever it would take. But he looked at me and said, "Don't say it now." Not just because I figured it out. He walked back inside. I stood there for a long time, staring at the truck in the driveway. The next morning he left before sunrise. Drove back to Columbus. Texted later to say they made it safe. That was it. I stared at my phone for a long time. 2 weeks went by. No texts. No calls. I checked his social media. No new photos. Nothing from Olivia's birthday. No updates about Dad. Just silence. Then one night, around 11:30, I got a voicemail from an unknown number. It was short, barely 10 seconds. "Hey, it's Jake. I'm outside." I jumped up, looked out my window. Sure enough, the truck was parked out front. That same old Ford. It looked out of place in my apartment complex, surrounded by Hondas and sedans. I opened the door. He was standing there, hoodie pulled up, hands in his pockets. He looked tired, not just physically, worn down in a way I didn't recognize. "You okay?" I asked. He nodded but didn't speak. I stepped aside to let him in. We sat in my living room. The silence stretched until it got unbearable. Then he said, "I drove the truck here. Thought maybe it was time to give it to you." "What? I don't need it. We got a new SUV last year. Olivia hates the truck anyway. Says it smells weird." I tried to laugh. It didn't come out right. He looked at me, then down at his hands. I thought if I handed it over, maybe I'd stop feeling like I'm still stuck in that night. I stared at the truck through the window. The same one I'd wrecked. The one he took the fall for. The one he lost a whole part of his life over. "I can't take it," I said. My voice cracked. "Jake, he raised a hand. "Don't." "No," I said louder this time. "You have to let me say it." He closed his eyes, like he didn't want to hear it. "I was a coward," I said. "You saved me, and I let you. I watched you lose time, school, money, everything, and I just stayed quiet. You were a kid too. You didn't deserve what came after." His jaw tightened. He didn't look at me. "I've been walking around with this guilt for years. And it never got lighter. It just got quieter. But I think you carried it worse." He stood up and walked to the window. Looked out at the truck. Then he said, "It's not about the truck. It never was." I didn't know what to say. He turned back around. "You know what hurt the most? It wasn't losing school or paying off the repairs. It was watching you become someone who could live with it." That hit harder than anything he'd said before. He didn't wait for a response. Just pulled the keys out of his pocket, set them on the table, and walked to the door. I followed him, but I didn't stop him. I didn't know how. He got into an Uber and left without saying goodbye. I kept the truck. It's still sitting in the parking lot. Rust creeping up the edges. Tags expired. I can't bring myself to drive it, and I can't bring myself to sell it either. Sometimes I just sit in the driver's seat with the windows down, trying to feel something that might let me off the hook. Jake doesn't return my messages now. Not angry, not cold, just done. Like he finally put the weight down and now it's mine alone. And maybe that's fair. Maybe that's what I earned. But there's this part of me, deep down, that still wants to yell at him. Not because he took the blame, but because he made it look easy. Because the worst part of carrying a secret like that is realizing you were never strong enough to carry it at all.